AI robotics, as in robotics in particular, is the only technology that has ever existed that could really that could theoretically get rid of that entirely. You could have bread, you could have the wheat grown for you, the watered, ground, shipped, baked, everything. You could sit down at your table, have bread brought to you, and have zero human effort involved in building it, maintaining it, nothing.
Hi, and thank you for joining. My name is Eli Fishman, host of the Eli Fishman podcast. Today's episode, I speak with Aharon Zlotowitz, CEO of Schwai. Schwai helps businesses use AI and automation tools to work smarter and save time. They help companies find the right AI solutions for their specific needs and train teams to work better with AI. Aharon Zlotowitz is an AI strategist and automation architect helping businesses unlock efficiency through practical, results-driven AI implementation. If you would like to get notified when a new episode drops, click the subscribe button and you'll be notified every time there's a new episode. Let us know what you think of the podcast, rate and leave a message. We value your input. Now, my interview with Aharon Zlotowitz. Enjoy. You're listening to the Eli Fishman podcast. Welcome, Aharon Zlotowitz, CEO of Schwai, to the Eli Fishman podcast. Thank you so much for making the time to come on. Can you tell us a bit about yourself and what you do?
Sure. Thank you for having me, Ellie. I run Schwai, which is a business for helping companies. We do education and actual development on how companies can be using AI in their business to streamline their operations, get more work done faster, make more money with the same amount of employees. All that. That's what we do.
What happened in around 2016, where AI has entered the scene and just created this storm in the world of technology? What changed? What is the foundation of AI that triggered all of this?
Okay, so taking it way back, I think it was like 8-10 years ago, some researchers at Google, at least one of whom was Israeli, obviously, published a paper called "Attention is All You Need," which is the foundation of how they got AI to. It was like that was the foundation paper that they built all the AIs that exist on top of. The general concept is, and I'm going to simplify this, but still this is very technical. Is that the way AI works is they take AI training. It costs millions of dollars to train AI. What does that mean? They take as much information as they can. So like most of the internet and every book ever published and all these different things, they take all that and they feed that through an algorithm. And this takes an enormous amount of computing power and it takes months to do. And it crunches the numbers and it basically figures out how often, more or less, does one word follow the next. So let's say the sentence I just said, the next. How often does the word the follow the word next? So there are two words you may have heard thrown around. Those are parameters and weights in how AIs work. A parameter is, so you see how big is the model is how many parameters it has. So a parameter is a connection between words. So if you have a connection between the and next, that is one parameter. And then you have just a smallest model that you'll be able to use at all is about 8 billion parameters. ChatGPT, Claude, whatever, these are in the hundreds of billions. Now, not every parameter is equal. The word street and lamp are pretty well connected, but the word airplane and pizza are not. There might still be a parameter. If in a very high parameter model, this might still be a parameter, but there's something called a weight, which is how much is this parameter worth? How often. So between those two things, if anyone was kind of spaced out from the technical of that, now we could come back. The point is that how often do these words follow the next? Think about like autocorrect on your phone. You're typing in, it says, your last word was this. So we predict it'll be the next 3 words. Similar idea to that, but on steroids. But the thing is, because they have so many of these connections and so many parameters, you're able to, coming from so many sources, you're able to kind of simulate what seems like speech and thought. because you actually have, because it's just like, because all speech follows certain patterns, you're able to tap into those and you could see what's wrong, see what's going on, what should come next. That is the general concept. That's the training. And then after training, now they do something called reinforcement learning, where they'll have it do things and they'll evaluate the output and say good or bad. And then based on that, it'll adjust the weights of how valuable is each parameter. And so then model gets even better and even better and even better. So that's more or less how it works at a very basic level. That's what it does.
Right. So if I understand correctly, it was trained to recognize patterns, but in a large capacity, like in a large capacity of billions of patterns. It's not trillions or whatever it is.
Exactly. It's so many that, like, yeah, if you would try to do this at any scale that a human could write and process, it wouldn't work. But at the massive scale they're doing it, it's able to actually like really do actual work and do things for you.
Right. So for what I understand from you now is that it's not technically an intelligence for itself. It's a trained computer that can recognize a large amount of data and spit out trends accordingly.
Yes, that is more or less what is going on. And that's also very important for people to realize. It's not actually smart. People say, oh, this is also why this helps understand why you have these hallucinations, where it'll just say something is completely wrong occasionally, much less than it used to, but it'll still occasionally say it's completely wrong. The reason is because as long as you always said, but it never sounds wrong. It always sounds very convincing and very good. That's because the words all make sense one after the next, but if you actually read the sentence, it doesn't automatically make sense. Understand, it's a technology like any other. Now, it's an extremely capable technology, and when it's put into place correctly, it's able to do incredible things. So, let's say you use a chat, like a ChatGPT or a Claude. You go onto the web page, you ask it a question, it gives you an answer. Right. So that's better. It's nice. It's better than Google. If you need information, instead of Googling the concept and then reading 5 articles, it's basically doing the same concept. You want to know how something works, you ask ChatGPT, it tells you how it works. Great. The next thing they did was like, hey, what if we made it able to read documents? So I could give it my PDF of this is already kind of tooling. It's the company's built ways to read PDFs. So the AI just says, hey, the AI just gets fed the PDF, the contents of it, and then it can read it and it can tell you things about it. So now it's the next step. Now it can read it. Now we give it the ability to write code and run that code. You could see this in ChatGPT or Claude. You'll see in ChatGPT, if you ask it something with like an Excel file, you'll see a little box that says analyzing. That means it's writing code and running it. So it can now write code that tells it to pull out data from the Excel and sort it. And so now it can see what the columns are, and then it can do analysis. Like someone, like you have an Excel expert who sits there writing formulas, it could do something similar. So now you can you can do it. So we've recently seen a lot of people start doing their underwriting for real estate deals. They say, here's all my Excel files on the building that I'm looking to buy, with the rents and all the values and everything else that I have. And it runs analysis, it does all that code, and then it spits out a result. So now we're getting even further. Now, what if I were to take my email? Now, if I give it access to my email, and every time an email comes in, let's say I do a lot of deals. I spoke to a company that does cash advance, and they get so many deals a day that even to do it like this, where you have it do all the underwriting for you, is still too much, because they're doing hundreds of deals a day. If someone who has to sit there shuttling 500 emails into the AI, it's still too much. So the email comes in with a deal, the AI reads the email, pulls the Excel files, does the underwriting, and then spits out the result, and then they get the results in like a report email once every half hour, once every hour, whatever. So you see, there's like the same concept of you can take text and process text, just starts building up and up and up because of what you build it into. So now we're getting to what people say, like, oh my gosh, you could run your whole business on AIs, because if you give AI access to a computer and access to Excel and access to your email and all these different things, it can do most of those things, not because it's actually smart in the sense of like an actual human, just because most of this stuff is just shuttling data around. That's most of computer work is just, we have data in this form. It's in a PDF, it needs to be in an Excel file, and then it needs to be in an email. it's moving data and transforming
Right.
data, and that it can do very well because it's all text based.
You advise companies on using AI in their operations. What are some examples that really stood out to you? What made them work well?
We've noticed recently that you always hear people, it's a very famous question you hear a lot is, people, not question, people say, AI it's very good, but to do this thing, it's not there yet. You hear that a lot. So the thing is, we've noticed is that the really advanced, let's say the newest Claude, the newest ChatGPT model, in a lot of ways, they are there yet in the sense, like you can, like I said, you could have it, we had, a client, it was actually my father's company. They're a client of ours. There was an underwriter who not even underwriter. He's a broker for certain kinds of deals. And he asked Claude he gave it the spreadsheets and said, hey, can you underwrite my deal for me? And in about 6 minutes, what would take an underwriter a few hours, it did. And it did. He looked it over and did it perfect job. So I told him, okay, tell Claude to make a skill out of this, which is a concept Claude has where it's files. It's essentially just a really long prompt, like detailing exactly what you're supposed to do in this scenario. So it figures out, okay, so we want to make sure that the output has these columns, and we want to make sure that we take this data and these are the kind of assumptions we make and all these different things. And so it's able to do that. So we don't need 20 underwriters because we could give this skill to 5 underwriters and they could do all these deals. And then you could take it one further. If you're dealing with these are bigger deals and smaller volume. If you have a lot of little deals, like a cash advance company gets a lot of little deals every day. It's like a $10,000 loan. It's not like a whole, up to $1 million loan, but whatever. It's still a smaller amount over there, but they're getting a ton of them. There, you could even, again, you hook it into the email and everything happens by itself. And you just check it over to make sure that, the numbers aren't crazy off. If someone was a senior underwriter, is an instinct. But that's the kind of thing. Like a lot of stuff is like you could really just give the raw tool straight to someone at this point, and they could get a lot done. You don't need to build out these crazy tools. On the other hand, we also noticed that, let's say we were talking to a company that they run their whole business off of Google Sheets and email, and they wanted to have AI fix a bunch of stuff for them. Like when they get an email in to start to figure out which department it's supposed to go to and which department should go to, what should they do with it, pull up some recent relevant records and all these different things. And I said to them, yeah, we could have AI do a lot of this, but it's actually funny if we would make a system, like just a basic system, like out of Google Sheets, put into a real database, think like a Monday.com or a CRM, something like that, put into a real database, then most of these things you want automated go away because you don't need to check 5 Google Sheets because the data is all just there. It's one system that everything just shows. And then the other stuff, there was some stuff the AI needed to do, but then the AI becomes easier because it's easier for the AI to talk to the data. Everyone says, if you have bad data, AI can't help you. It's true.
Exactly.
You need, if you're bad data, what does bad data mean? Bad data means that you have it in 6 different Excels and the columns you don't have neat columns and things aren't just, if you don't have them as their business, then it's hard for AI because the same way a human has a hard time, AI has to do these 16 steps also.
I want to focus on what human beings do at work, what they're hired to do. But I want to know what capabilities AI has that humans had done until recently.
Most data processing. So Excel work, a lot of secretary work, a lot of lower level bookkeeping. So the stuff that's not more the strategy side is still why are the why questions are still much more human. The how questions are able to be AI. So why are we doing this way? So you could define what you're going to do because of the reasoning, and then the AI could do the how, like actually getting the job done. So that's why I said, again, you end up with these people who one person is able to do the work of what used to be 5, 6, 7, 8 people because the potchkey part of the work is gone to a large extent. It's just you have the AI, you come up with what needs to be done and why you're doing it, and the AI takes care of it, and then you just look at the end and you just because you have it. And this also is it's actually interesting because let's say someone with experience could look at the end and see, oh, this makes sense. This is now that makes sense. We're gonna we could pass it along. They don't have to sit there going back through every last detail necessarily. They have an instinct. The issue is going to be with training in of younger people is you get the experience of knowing these things from doing the potchky little work. So then you have a problem is where's your pipeline? Because everyone who's 40, who's working now, has a lot of experience. So they're positioned to take themselves to the crazy levels because they can now do themselves the work of a team. But the question is, you trained yourself on years and years and years of practice. Where are new people getting that practice? And it's a hard problem. A lot of big firms, like the really big firms, have been going back to hiring juniors for this reason. To a large extent, to have them actually working so they gain those instincts, because they need a pipeline, because they know they're planning on being around as companies for more than the next 20, 30 years. They need to have a pipeline of new people who are going to take over for the people who are retiring and the people who are moving out. You need to have that.
When you're saying that AI doesn't understand the why, is that a broad statement, or is that like totally true, or is that nuanced?
In a lot of problems, it's a context problem, meaning the AI can't really know, let's say, for example, what went on your.
But if it's fed everything that all the information the company intakes, from email to meetings to phone calls, then why shouldn't it be able to do the why?
So it could. Number one, there's a couple of things. Number one is that you're assuming that it's going to get it right. That's number one, because again, it's not 100% going to always get it right. So if it doesn't always get right, because these are nuanced questions, also because we're talking every meeting and everything is an enormous amount of data. AI cannot process all of that data at once. So it'll need to kind of be like, oh, let me see what I can find about this, and this is and try to come up with an answer. You could do it, but only to it's not necessarily it might miss something. It doesn't have this thing of something called, it's a big problem that they're all trying to work towards, is continuous learning, where the AI actually gets adjusted from as it goes, like a human does, where it just keeps it gains knowledge, it gains implicit knowledge. Knowledge it can't explain why necessarily, but it knows the answer. This is how human expertise works. If you look at a human expert versus a human non-expert in the same field, the human non-expert will sit there and he'll go work through the problem step by step, and then he'll come out with a result. An expert, you'll give him the problem, he'll just tell you the answer very often without doing the whole process in the middle, and he'll usually be more correct than the guy who sat there working it out step by step, because he gained that it's implicit knowledge in his head.
Right.
So you can't get that with AI.
It's a very, very advanced calculator, right?
All computers are, yeah.
Right. So the question is, when it will be so advanced that will even understand the why better than human beings?
So that's a question. It is debatable if it will.
Mm-hmm.
If it will, then we're all out of a job.
Yeah. So let me bring this back to practical life. Where did you see in your private life where AI has helped you out in becoming more effective or better?
Private life, outside of work?
How has AI helped you in your private life, or didn't help you?
It was interesting. I had to clean up my notes in my notes on halacha. I had it some typos and whatever. I reviewed the changes afterwards. So it didn't actually change any teichen, but I did do that a little bit. And then what's the cooking? I'll ask it occasionally to help me out with advice on cooking. If I'm buying a bottle of wine, I'll take a picture and get details on it, because I haven't tasted every single wine on the planet. But the biggest benefit for me has been in my work, not necessarily in implementing, not just in implementing it for other people. My programming, I use it for programming. I use it in an enormous amount for programming. I am able to, this idea of where it can, understand, is actually a good place to go with, where you understand, having a hard time understanding the why, even though you could see everything. So with programming, it can see, not necessarily once, but it can search through and it can see all your code. So you have a big program with all these different things. So you say, okay, I want this new feature in our program. and it'll go and it'll look through all the existing details, and it'll figure out, okay, so this is the plan of how we have to change things in order to get the result. So if you look at the plan, most of the time I'll have a couple notes on the plan on like things that has to change, because it'll make an assumption, not knowing what's going on in my head. It not knowing what's going on in my head, it'll make an assumption, which I'll look at it like, no, that's wrong. And it's very hard to say, oh, well, if you just told it that in advance, it's hard to do that, because at the end of the day, I can't tell it every single detail. I can't write a prompt for 16 hours. At that point, I'm losing the game. I might as well just do it myself. It does come back and ask questions occasionally, but still, very often I'll need to make at least 1 or 2 corrections. So, but again, these are much more high-level why questions. Very rarely am I have to say, oh, you made a mistake on the how and the specific details of what to do. It's much more of you misunderstood why I'm doing this, and therefore you didn't plan this properly. So that's where I see it the most often. And programming is usually like 2 steps ahead of every other AI phase, because everything is text. And there's verifiable outcomes because the program works or it doesn't work. And it's the easiest, as opposed to, let's say, a legal question. It's a little bit harder. Accounting is a little bit harder. So you see it whenever you see it, coding is usually the frontier of what AI is able to do. And so if you see it over there with the latest models, it means it's for sure at least at that level on these other layers further back. Let's say, just to give you an example, just Windows. How many lines of code do you think are in Windows? Take a guess.
I don't know.
There's no wrong answer, because I know you're not a programmer.
I don't write code exactly, but
if you had to guess,
I don't know, millions.
Yeah, so there's tens of millions or hundreds of millions. It's like an insane amount. And that's one program. It's a big program. That's one program. There are so many. So there's an enormous amount of training data available on codes particularly. So it's very, very well written out. That's number one. On the other end is that when you run a program, it either works or it doesn't, and you get an error message. Hey, this thing didn't work. So it's very easy for the AI to get a feedback and fix that, right? So there's a couple other reasons, but that's the main thing about it is that code is a very easy domain for AI to work in, because it's a machine working on a machine. Everything else is more messy, so this is like the spitz.
What are some easy and practical AI tools that you've seen work for the general population they can use to either streamline and save time in their daily life?
Okay, so the most basic is in this field. The only ones that are universally applicable that everyone can use are ChatGPT, Claude, Gemini, whatever, the basic chatbots themselves, because they can do anything. So you go to, let's say, I'm going to use Claude as the example, because if you're running a business in particular, it's I think the best one to use. But they're all this kind of like you move from one to the next. They're all very similar, at least as far as using it is concerned. The experience is very similar. So you go into Claude, you go to Claude.ai, you will see a chat box. Say, here, message Claude. So you type in a question, say, you drop in you have an Excel sheet that you're with your this year's financials. You say, hey, can you look this over and find some places we have to improve in how we're spending in our business, and here's some details about our business, so you have some context, what we're dealing with. And then it goes and let's say you can even say, ask me some questions before you start running the code, so you can there's things, because I'm not going to think of everything you're going to need to know. Ask me some questions first, enter. And then it will come back, it'll ask you some questions, and then they'll go and look through the Excel file. And like I said before, it'll analyze it with code. It'll look through the Excel file, and it'll come back with some legitimate results. Like these are some things that you can do. So this is just one example. Like and you can also ask it, hey, I'm looking to buy meat for Shabbos. This one's on sale in the grocery store. This is the kind of food that I like. What's a good recipe for this? and it'll tell you, oh, it's a good roast. You take a red wine, you take chop an onion, you do some salt, pepper, garlic, whatever, all these different things, put in the oven on this temperature for this long, and you're good to go. So I will use it more if I like cooking more. So like let's say, instead of asking like for a full recipe, I'll ask it for like specific details. I know certain things I want to do myself. And then, but that concept and anything else under the sun, it's basically, so that's why I said it's the universally applicable, because pretty much anything you do, you could go and you could ask it, ask it and it can help you, it could give you like, tell you ways you might do things. You could, if it's a document or something more, you give it snap pictures and send it to it. So anything.
It's your very smart personal assistant.
Exactly.
That could share your personal life as well, and you don't have to be worried about it.
So as far as sharing detail, sharing anything here, they all have in their settings a setting where that's on by default. You should turn off. Varies from company to company what it's called, but the concept is that, can we train our future models on your data? You should always make sure that is off. You do not want your information baked into the model somewhere.
And it comes on automatically.
By default, it's on. So you want to make sure that it's off. You go in, you shut it off. Gemini is the hardest. I'm pretty sure that if you shut it off on Gemini, then they won't let you have chat history either. Like you can't look back at old chats. But
so you're raising a concern here that your data can actually be breached.
It's not breached. It's just.
I mean, then why worry about it?
It's not breached. It's very simple. Remember we said training defines how it says things in the future. So if I gave them permission to use my data to train, then that means they can. So number one, the person who's setting up the data for the training of the AI could be reading my chats. That's number one. That's a problem. Depending what's in the chat. And number two is that if in that chat was some information about myself that's not public, and then someone asks a question about me to the AI in a future model that was trained on that, there is a chance that it will tell them that information. It might not, but it might. Now there are a lot of tools that are very useful, but they're not useful to everyone. So a good example of this is something called Gamma. Mm-hmm. Gamma is a PowerPoint maker. You tell it, hey, I need a PowerPoint on this topic. You give it a PDF, a Word document with your type-in, and it'll make you a very polished, nice-looking PowerPoint presentation. So someone whose job involves making PowerPoints, which is a lot of people, it's very helpful. If your job doesn't involve making PowerPoints, it's basically useless. There's something called Whisper Flow, which is to help let you use to talk into your computer to do things instead of typing. To write things, I think there's commands you can use to do things. Also, I don't use it much because I like typing and clicking. But there are those people who would love to never touch their keyboard again and just talk everything. So the Whisper Flow is a very useful tool. So that's for people who like voice dictation over actual, like the kind of people who never text a WhatsApp, they only voice note them. This is huge if you use a computer. So you have to A, use a computer, not just your phone, and B, you need to prefer voice dictation. It's useful, but not for everyone.
Right.
Claude has a thing called Claude Cowork, which you could put on your computer. And it can open files and change things and do things. It's like having that chatbot experience, but talking directly to your computer. Very, very useful. If you don't really do much computer work, not very helpful at all, number one. Number two is this one is more of a security concern. If it has access to your computer, it can do anything on it. Like I said before, we have a guy whose computer is used to run his computer has direct access to the main product database. The system, and this database is the whole business is built on this database. This database is worth whatever the value of the business is. The database is a significant percentage. If that guy has Cowork on his computer and Cowork misinterprets what he says, can you clean up the data? Clean up this data. And it's like, oh, you want me to clean the database? And just goes and presses a command and wipes the database. That's millions of dollars worth of data is gone. From a security perspective, you cannot have this person have it on his computer. The other guy who's just working in Excel files that are all backed up somewhere else and makes no difference, go right ahead and speed him up.
So I've seen people use AI for summing up meetings. Technically, this is not just for business, right? People have meetings all the time. It can be a meeting with your son. It can be a meeting in business. It can be a meeting with your lawyer about the house you want to sell, right? And you think back to the meeting and you're like, not clear. What did we discuss? How did we discuss it? What did he say? And I know somebody used it when I was when I was had a business meeting, and he used it, and then I got this report afterwards, and I was like, wow. I mean, I don't have to write things down now. I have everything in my meeting, even better than I would write it down. I want to do that. How do people do that?
Okay. The best one, if you're willing to pay, is Firefly. It's not expensive, but it costs money, is fireflies.ai. They do, it's an excellent software. It has the ability to connect to other programs, to Claude, to this, but even if you don't use that, it's just, it goes into your Zoom meetings, it goes into Google Meet, goes into Teams, goes into all the places. It has a mobile app on the phone that you could press a button and record a meeting with other people. If you really want it, like record everything, there are companies like Claude, Plaud, not to be confused with Claude with a C at the beginning. It's Plaud with a P. They make looks like a credit card almost. It's just like a devoted device, because let's say you're doing a recording and you get a phone call, something like that. If you're recording from your phone, this is a dedicated device. You get it small, slim, you carry it around. If you wanted to really be recording all your you do a lot of in-person meetings, you want to record all those. There are a bunch of different products in that space also, but the best paid one is fireflies.ai, and the best free one, again, this is, though I don't know if they have I don't think they have a mobile app for recording. The best one for free is called Fathom.
So these are great practical tools anybody can use daily. Anything else is coming to your mind?
ChatGPT has now, Gemini and ChatGPT kind of like are in an arms race. Claude has no image generation at all, but ChatGPT and Gemini have kind of been going back and forth on who has the best image generation model. As of today, when we're recording this, ChatGPT has the best one. So you ask it to generate an image, it can generate like full it could generate like full, you need an ad for your business. You can ask it to generate a full poster, like it, with all the words and everything in like one shot. It's absolutely phenomenal what it can do.
So here is another industry that can be very strongly hit. We spoke about low-level jobs, right? With entrepreneurs, this technology is much better. But what does the entrepreneur do? It brings together information from all over and builds something, right?
Right.
But the low-level jobs, people who have specific talent for picking up phone calls or doing or entering data. This is another industry now where graphic design, where they can get hit very strongly.
So my mother-in-law does graphic design. I was speaking to her about this. So first of all, the people who, in most industries at this point, the people whose, the thing that makes them, why, everyone has a question, why should I use you over the next guy, right? So there are some people whose thing was you're right, the next guy will probably give you a better result than I will, but he's more expensive. There's always been the people who, they were the cheapest option, right? They were cheapest option, and that was the thing. They were not the best necessarily, but they were cheap. So you need something done, they would do it, and that's it. Those people are going to be in big trouble, because the cheapest option is now to go into ChatGPT. And so if you don't care enough to go above the cheapest option is now $20 a month that you're probably paying anyway. You go to ChatGPT and you say, hey, this is what I need. Write it out, make it for me, and it makes it. And you can say, oh, I don't like this thing. Edit it. It fixes it. Now, when you go to someone who's a little bit more premium and you're paying them for their judgment and their taste, because you're not an artistic person necessarily, right? You're running a business. You're an entrepreneur. You run a business. Your head is not, you're not a marketing guru necessarily. You don't know how to, so you're paying for judgment and then also execution, right?
Yeah.
So I spoke to my mother-in-law, so she's very creative. And the thing is, now she told me it's amazing. She can do work for a client way faster because she's making an ad and whatever, and she needs one piece that needs to look like a certain thing. It's like, okay, so here, image generator, make this exact element that I need, and then she slides it in Photoshop. So Photoshop gives access to all of these models. It says, okay, give me this exact thing that I need. It generates it, and then she puts it on top of that. It builds it in. So she now has that, is she's able to, like I said before, someone who's very good and has experience and knows what they're trying to do is suddenly sped up and can do so much more. As my father said, they said to a line to me once, he said, he tells people, like, you have an expert on every topic. He said, you have access to an expert on every single topic under the sun. So if you're not using it, you just leave, like you said, you're leaving it on the table. You have that access. You even, obviously, you're still going to, it's your business. You're going to decide what to do Lamaisa. But if you have that level of advice, here, break down the problem for me. What are angles I'm not thinking of? And there's a lot. This is something that I do, like, that to come up with the things that you're missing, because there usually is. Very rarely are you going to see every single angle of a problem. So if you want to get the angles that you're missing, which are really where, expect the unexpected, which is impossible. So now it's starting to become somewhat possible to expect the unexpected, because you have something that can come up with all of those unexpected angles for you.
Yeah, so I've seen, I wonder if you've seen it as well. Some people are hesitant of using AI. Have you seen that?
Yes, you see it occasionally. It's scary. Change is scary, and new things are scary. And this is very, very new and it feels somewhat alien. It's like, it feels like, oh my gosh, there's this intelligent thing, and people do feel threatened in general. Like, they're worried to hear, jobs are going, and I'm going to lose my job, and so they kind of just like shut down and push it out of their head. And
But when I told you that I watched the video of you and your father speaking at an event, and the way he put it down was to the people there that even though they're not this techie genius, right? When it comes to AI, you could just talk to it.
Right.
You don't have to be a tech genius.
100%.
And I think he helps a lot of people by talking that way, because he keeps those people relevant in the times in their business. And all you have to do, to start with, is just talk to it. It's going to give you the ideas. It's going to help you out, just like I'm talking to you right now.
100%.
So we don't discuss that, how a contrast between somebody who uses AI, how it can benefit his business, and somebody who ignores it can fall behind. The thing is that with technology moving so fast, and there are new technologies almost daily, there's this fear that I may miss something, I may not know something, and I'll fall behind. Like, how do you keep up without it overtaking your life? Like, you have the consulting business, right? So you want to be up to date with everything, but it's moving so fast. How do you keep up with it? So
a lot of it is not doing exactly what you just said. If you're constant, this is true with AI, especially because, again, it's the big hype and it's very new, and it's moving faster than a lot of things that moved in the past. But it's always been the case that if you're going to let yourself get distracted by every new thing that pops out of the woodwork, you're never going to be able to do anything, because you're just constantly chasing. You need to figure out in your business, especially for business owners, especially, this is the easiest. The easiest to address on this is, you have a business, you sell cars. You have to figure out where in your business you're not automating the part where the person walks in and you talk to them about the car, right? So figure out where are the things that I'm spending money that are not core to the business, that are not core to the actual thing that makes me money, which is selling cars. And figure out the things that are not core to that and things that are core to that. And you look at that and you say, okay, where can I use what exists right now to save money and to speed myself up, either save money or do more business, basically save time. Find those things, look at them, and do one of them. Right. And then once you've done that one, move to the next and the next. I spoke to a guy once.
Think about your life, not about the technology.
Exactly. The technology is the tool. And every time you're doing the thing, evaluate right now, what is the best way that I could do this? And then just keep moving like that. At a certain point, you'll be working on one thing. You'll come up with this is the technology up to now is, well, I could do this. And like, you could think, oh, that other thing I did before, I could upgrade what I did there or change what I did there and be even better or even cheaper or whatever. Right. So, but if you're going to sit there that has to do everything at once and have to just throw AI at the problem, you're not going to get anywhere. You need to calm down, focus and just get things done one at a time. That's the thing. It's I spoke to a guy a former client who he said he was talking to me after we had our meeting about the actual AI. He runs his business and I run mine. He said to me, you have to get to the point in your business. It was more advice. He said, you get to the point in your business where you go from working for your company to working on your company. You got to come in with that mindset. You're working on your company. You're working to make yourself better. You could do this even if you're not owning a business. What's your job? What do you do? Whatever you do, that's your company to an extent, and just work on improving that and doing more and doing better.
How do you see daily life in, like, let's give it a number, like 5 years or 10 years from now, when it shoots at me? How, like, for example, I'm speaking to you now, and we're on the internet. You have headphones on. I can see you. I can hear you. Go back, I don't know, 25 years. This wasn't possible.
Right.
Where do you see, but it's part of our daily life right now, right? We look at an email every day. Where do you see AI implement itself within our daily lives that would just become normal?
It really depends. The answer to this question really depends on what happens with robotics. If robotics take off to the point where they're able to, you can replace your cleaning lady, you can replace a factory worker, start replacing factory workers and welders, and then eventually plumbers, electricians, then the world is, in my opinion, going to be unrecognizable. You don't need people to grow your food. You don't need people to pick the food, ship it, generate the electricity, build the houses. They recently had a robot that beat the world champion at ping pong. So, who knows? But if they get to that point, it's too far. If you don't have robotics, then it's really just, your phone is listening to you more, and it can start anticipating what you need more, and it's an improvement on the technology we have. I think the game changer would be robotics.
Do you think chips is realistic in the human brain?
Oh, well,
I mean,
depends what do you mean by that? What do you mean by that? Do you mean the chip that I could think to and it connects to outside things, or a chip that enhances my brain itself?
So I'm not sure myself, but I know that the Elon Musk chip company, Neuralink, has done some amazing breakthroughs when it comes to, let's say somebody's paralyzed and he wants to communicate, and he could think, but he can't move. So he can think to the right, and something will move to the right.
Right. So that I think is pretty clearly happening. Translation of brain impulses into computer signals. That's clearly happening. What's the most interesting thing in that field to me is that this is more experimental, but you know how cochlear implants work? The people who are deaf, people who are actually deaf.
No.
As a basic hearing aid is like, you have an old person whose hearing is starting to go, so it's basically just a microphone and a speaker,
amplifying
right?
it. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. The real cochlear implants are much more intense. They basically, if someone who's deaf because there's an issue with their eardrum, they figured out how they can connect. Essentially, they could wire in directly to the nerve that sends sound to the brain and translate. That's why you see they have like that thing over here. Yeah. So then the hearing aid sends signal that it actually sends the sound directly to the brain. It bypasses the eardrum. So that concept is being worked on. It's nowhere near functional. They have very, very very low grainy and black and white version of this for vision. So someone who's blind, basically essentially wire into the eyes, into the ocular nerve, which is what sends vision to the brain, and you could let the person see. And so first of all, STOM, you give someone who's blind, you can let them see. That's number one. That's huge. The next thing is, let's say, for example, to someone with cochlear implant, they connect their phone to Bluetooth. They connect their phone to the hearing aid by Bluetooth, and they're hearing what's on their phone, the music, the phone call, whatever, is going straight to the brain. So now what happens if you have that equivalent for eyes? And so the person, instead of eyes, he has cameras, and then you could send him whatever you want. The guy's phone, he gets a text. You can make his brain see a text message appear right here. Show up. Why not?
So I will, tell me if I understand it correctly, I will be able to watch a movie in front of me with no physical there?
Well, if you get your eyes taken out and put in place, but yeah. I don't know I don't know how it works.
Well,
with,
if it talks
I don't know
to
how
my
it works
brain,
with existing, right? But it has
if
to
it
go
talks to
into
my brain, then it can make my eyes do that.
No, so I don't know the science. So I don't know whether you'd have to get your eyes taken out or not, but you'd have to have some sort of hardware connected directly into your ocular nerves. But yeah, theoretically, you could see virtual reality without the headset. You could have Zoom on your eyes. These sort of things would be possible once you hooked into the ocular nerve. Yeah.
The meta glasses that somehow is not taking off.
It is actually. It's in a smaller way than it's smaller. They're doing pretty good sales on it. Happens to be.
Basically, you have a screen in your glasses, just like your phone screen. Only you can see it, right? And your eye movement actually moves things around.
Yeah, and they have they've worked on it's a wristband that tracks the signals tracks the muscle signals you send to your hand. So you kind of twitch your hand and it can do motions on the thing.
Right.
Yeah, it's great. The eye tracking technology also is very intense. You go to PlayStation actually has a virtual reality headset that is very cool. Basically, because it takes a lot of resources to render. Let's say let's have a video game. It takes a lot of resources to show in high detail, right? So to save resources, the thing is when you're in a VR headset, so you're looking at the screen to you is all over. You only need to render, your vision is very blurry at the edges. You only see clearly in the middle. Mm-hmm. So they have eye tracking in the PlayStation. It only renders clearly where you're looking and everything else it leaves blurry.
So it saves gigabytes.
And you cannot tell. You can't, it's impossible. A human, you dart your eyes around, you can't tell. I saw a video of someone who was testing this out. They hooked up the PlayStation also to a big screen. So the people outside, not wearing the headset, were able to watch what he was looking at. And they would tell him, oh, you're looking at that tree. He'd be like, and oh, you're looking at that person. Oh, you're looking at this. And he's like, how do you know this? He cannot tell because the eye tracking is so good. So you kind of put technology like that into a pair of glasses and yeah, exactly.
Right. So you know what? Until now, if you were cross-eyed and you were able to see, it was fine. It's okay. Just look funny. Eventually, that may make you a regular disabled person.
No, they'll add tracking for the cross-eyed person.
There'll be like a AI doctor to help you out with your cross-eyed.
Exactly.
Yeah, very interesting. So actually, going back to this AI glasses, the Meta glasses, the Meta is having all actually Amazon. I'm not sure, Amazon. I know there's one company that's having all their employees delivery. UPS, FedEx, I'm not sure. They have all their employees put on these glasses. So
I think Meta did it. I think Meta's their employee work is being tracked, like the computer work. Everything their employees are doing is being tracked.
Exactly.
So they could use it to training data for the AI.
So now people's hands are free and they can see in their glasses, like if delivery man puts down the box in the right place. So it shows where it's supposed to go. Let's say like it shows you red, and I've never seen it, but it shows you the green spot where you're supposed to put it down. And then it asks you, is this the right place or the wrong place? And the person could just say yes, everything with two hands without carrying the productivity becomes, they could save millions of dollars on something like this.
Yeah, exactly. That's why they're doing it. Also, they use the data to train AI so they could train the replacements for the people doing it, whatever.
Right. I've heard people discuss that AI is actually the beginning of making the world a perfect place, which will result in Mashiach's times. So
I would use a different phrasing. What is the curse of Adam Rishon? Right? Yeah. AI robotics, robotics in particular, is the only technology that has ever existed that could really that could theoretically get rid of that entirely. You could have bread, you could have the wheat grown for you, the watered ground, shipped, baked, everything. You can sit down at your table, have bread brought to you, and have zero human effort involved in building it, maintaining it, nothing. Eventually, if it goes that road, then at that point also the whole world there's no economy. Now, do I think that's happening tomorrow? This is also I don't want to get in any trouble with any Rabbanim, but my general thing is people say, oh, Mashiach must be coming because of this thing. I think that it's much like you see the Chafetz Chaim said World War II, like Mashiach is for sure coming, right? They say something like that. He said something similar, is where I think it's a window. Hashem is showing us here, look, if you guys want to just earn it, it's all in place for you. Just come and get it. And so I think Hashem is opening like a window to us again. Like there's like I said, like, you can always do tshuva, but you have Yom Kippur as a window for it. But I think it's a window for Mashiach. Like, you could come and you can claim, but I think that's not about, we have to make sure that we get the AI in the right place or we get the robots. That's not for you to take care of. That's what Hashem is to take care of. You, if the island were to, Hashem is showing us you have a path forward. You can do tshuva. Here, come. I'm waiting. So that's my rabbanus for the day.
One of the main obstacles that we always had about the time of Mashiach is bringing everybody together. Right? There's so many different languages, so many different parts of the world. You look at X right now. I read tweets on X that are not English. I don't even recognize it because they've translated it for me.
Right.
So the whole world technically has one language.
Right. That's a good point. I didn't think about that. That's a good point.
And who knows, like, which virtual reality, I don't know, this is wild, but could you walk down in virtual reality to really cut Paisa? Who knows? Because
you're not doing it.
I know, but if they say that Israel will expand, right? Israel will expand into something.
Yeah, you'll get a self-driving car before what's called again? Before Pesach, the Regel.
I'm letting you close. Tell us, if you want to tell everybody how they can see you online, how they can reach to you, or any closing statements about the topic. It's all yours.
Yes. Okay, so we can reach us at our website, schwai.com, SCHWAI, which stands for Supercharged with AI, in case you were wondering where the name came from. Schwai.com. I'm on LinkedIn. Our company's on LinkedIn. Everyone who works for us is on LinkedIn.
Okay, perfect. Thank you very much. It's been great. Thank you so much, and lots of luck. Good luck.
Oh, man, you too. Take care.
Okay, love.